Picture this. You're walking through life carrying invisible armor that weighs 1,000 pounds. Every harsh word from your past clanks against the metal plates. Every rejection echoes in the hollow chambers of your chest. Every disappointment adds another layer of protection that somehow makes you feel more vulnerable, not less. You think this armor is keeping you safe, but what if I told you it's the very thing that's keeping you trapped in a prison of your own making? What if the secret to never being hurt again isn't building higher walls or thicker skin, but something so counterintuitive it seems almost absurd? What if the path to invulnerability lies not in avoiding pain, but in becoming so authentically yourself that external opinions bounce off you like raindrops on a windshield? Carl Jung understood something most people spend their entire lives running from. The very wounds we desperately try to heal by seeking validation from others can only be truly healed from within. He called this process individuation, the journey of becoming who you truly are, independent of the expectations, judgments, and emotional manipulations of the world around you. But here's where it gets interesting, and in the next part, we'll dive into why most people are living their lives backwards. Think about the last time someone's words cut deep into your core. Was it really their words that hurt you, or was it the part of you that believed those words might be true? Was it their rejection that devastated you? Or was it your own rejection of yourself that they simply reflected back to you like a mirror you didn't want to look into? Jung discovered that we don't just have one personality. We have what he called the persona, the mask we wear to fit into society, and the shadow, all the part of ourselves we rejected and pushed into the darkness. When someone hurts us, they're usually poking at our shadow, the parts of ourselves we're most ashamed of, most afraid to acknowledge. The person who calls you weak triggers you, because part of you fears you might be weak. The person who abandons you destroys you, because part of you believes you're unworthy of love. The person who criticizes your dreams crushes you, because part of you doubts your own potential. But what happens when you stop running from your shadow and start integrating it? What happens when you look at your weaknesses, your flaws, your deepest fears, and instead of hiding them, you embrace them as part of your human experience? Something magical occurs. You become whole. And when you're whole, when you've accepted every part of yourself, the light and the dark, the strong and the vulnerable, the confident and the insecure, other people's opinions lose their power to wound you. In the next part, we'll explore how this transformation actually works in the real world. Let's say you're in a relationship and your partner constantly criticizes you. If you haven't done the inner work of individuation, every criticism feels like a dagger to your heart. You'll twist yourself into impossible shapes trying to please them, trying to avoid their disapproval, trying to be someone they can love. But here's the twist. The more you contort yourself to avoid their criticism, the more you betray your authentic self. And the more you betray your authentic self, the more you give away your power. You become a puppet dancing to the rhythm of their moods, their needs, their emotional states. Jung would say you're living in what he called the collective unconscious, absorbing the emotional patterns, expectations, and neuroses of everyone around you instead of developing your own conscious relationship with yourself. The person who has undergone individuation approaches this differently. They listen to criticism with curiosity rather than defensiveness. They ask themselves, is there truth in this feedback that can help me grow? If yes, they integrate it. If no, they let it pass through them like wind through an open window. They don't need their partner's approval to feel worthy, because their sense of worth comes from their relationship with themselves, not from external validation. They don't fear abandonment because they've learned to be their own companion. They don't crumble under criticism because they've already faced their shadow and made peace with their imperfections. This is what Jung meant when he talked about psychic energy. Most people leak their energy trying to manage other people's emotions, seeking approval, avoiding conflict, maintaining personas that don't reflect their true selves. But the individuated person contains their energy within themselves, using it for their own growth, their own purpose, their own authentic expression. And in the next part, we'll discover the most powerful realization of all. Here's the secret that changes everything. When you stop trying to control how others see you, when you stop needing their validation, when you stop fearing their rejection, you paradoxically become more attractive, more magnetic, more influential than you ever were when you were desperately seeking their approval. Why? Because authenticity is rare in a world full of personas. Confidence is magnetic in a world full of insecurity. Emotional independence is powerful in a world full of people seeking emotional dependence. When you've done the work of individuation, when you've integrated your shadow, when you stop running from yourself, you become what Jung called the individuated person. You're no longer reactive to other people's emotional states. You're no longer dependent on external circumstances for your inner peace. You're no longer vulnerable to the manipulations, projections, and emotional games that use to control your life. But this isn't about becoming cold or detached. It's about becoming so secure in yourself that you can love others without needing them, give without expecting, care without attachment to outcomes. Think about the people in your life who seem untouchable by drama, unshakable in their sense of self, unmovable in their core values. They're not superhuman. They've just done the inner work that most people avoid. They've faced their fears, owned their flaws, and integrated their shadows. And now, in the final part, we'll explore how you can begin this journey yourself. The path to becoming unhurtable begins with a radical act of self-honesty. You must be willing to look at yourself without the filters of self-deception, without the excuses, without the stories you tell yourself about why you're the way you are. Start by asking yourself these questions. What criticism triggers me most? What kind of rejection devastates me? What behaviors in others make me most angry? Your answers will point directly to your shadow, the parts of yourself you haven't accepted. If criticism of your intelligence triggers you, ask yourself, what part of me fears I'm not smart enough? If romantic rejection destroys you, ask, what part of me believes I'm unlovable? If other success makes you bitter, ask, what part of me doubts my own potential? Jung believed that what we resist persists, but what we accept transforms. The parts of yourself you've been running from are exactly the parts you need to embrace to become whole. This isn't therapy talk. This is practical psychology for living in the real world. Every time you avoid facing an uncomfortable truth about yourself, you give other people power over you. Every time you need external validation to feel worthy, you make yourself vulnerable to manipulation. Every time you react offensively to criticism, you're showing the world exactly where your wounds are. But every time you own your flaws, accept your humanity, and operate from authentic self-acceptance rather than desperate self-improvement, you become a little more invulnerable to the emotional chaos around you. The journey of individuation isn't about perfection. It's about integration. It's about becoming so comfortable with all parts of yourself that other people's opinions become irrelevant to your sense of self-worth. When you reach this state, something profound happens. You realize that nothing and nobody can ever truly hurt you again, because you've already faced the only enemy that ever had power over you, the parts of yourself you were afraid to acknowledge. You stop being a victim of other people's emotions and start being the author of your own experience. You stop reacting to life and start responding from a place of centered power. You stop seeking love and start being love. This is Jung's promise, that through the courageous journey of becoming who you truly are, shadow and light, strength and vulnerability, perfection and flaws integrated into one authentic human being, you become invulnerable to the emotional manipulations that once controlled your life. The armor you thought you needed was never protection. It was a prison. The vulnerability you thought was weakness is actually your greatest strength. The shadows you thought would destroy you are the keys to your freedom. Write in the comments, I choose authenticity over approval. I choose growth over comfort. I choose to become who I truly am, regardless of what anyone else thinks. Your journey to becoming unhurtable starts with a single step, the courage to look in the mirror and love what you see, not because it's perfect, but because it's real, because it's yours, because it's the raw material from which you'll build an unshakable sense of self that no external force can ever touch again.